Hi there, welcome to Transformer Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2025 Chaparral 336Tsik. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera. Also, located down below is a 2-inch receiver. Just keep in mind there is a pretty significant weight capacity on here. It's going to say on the bumper right here, it's about 300 pounds. So keep in mind it's really just good for a bike rack. You got your observation ladder so you can get up and check all of your seals, periodically, as well as solar panels. And then located in the back bumper tube, you're just squeezing that cap, pulling it off. It's typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. Just tries to keep as much spill on the unit as possible. Now coming a little further down the driver's side, if you look up top, you're going to see that range flap there. You're going to want to undo that flap whenever you get to your campsite. I'm about 6 feet tall and I still can't reach it, so you might probably need a step ladder. But whenever you get to your campsite, relieving that flap. That way you're evacuating those fumes as you'd like to. And then once you're traveling, just snapping it back into place. That way you're not getting any excess dust inside the unit. Right down below by the spare back tire here, you got your fresh water drain. Pulling that valve will allow all that spare fresh tank water to drain. A little further up ahead, you got your sewer outlet. You're just taking that cap, twisting it off. You're just taking note of those 2 ears there. It's the same ears your sewer hose is going to have. You line them up with the notches like so, twist and lock into place. You're all done. Furnace exhaust, whenever the furnace is running, it's going to be blowing off hot air, so just be mindful of that. You got your 30 amp twist lock connection. You're just taking note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Firmly press it into place. 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do get your standard 50 amp plug end. Now a lot of campsites may not have this, so we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 30 amps of power. You can only run one air conditioner at a time. You won't be able to run both. And then we do also include a 15 amp adapter to go down from the 30 to a standard outlet. Just keep it in mind when you're using the 15 amp house adapter, there's not going to be running any airs. It's just to run your fridge and your lights. Once you do plug it in, you should have power. You got your hot water heater service port, lifting that out. You can either set it back or lifting it more towards the side of the unit here, pulling it up. That'll allow that to open up. And then let's say you want to be draining it or getting access to it more, you can pull that out right out of place as well. You got your power switch, that's the main thing you need to worry about. Turn that on, supplies power to the thermostat inside. Flow, you don't have to worry about that. This little brass plug here, unscrewing that is how you drain the heater. Now when it comes time to winterization, if you're doing the winterization yourself and you've had a camper before, you probably had a tanked water heater, in which case had bypass valves. This is a tankless system, so it doesn't have any bypass valves. And if there are some, you don't turn them. You do want to run antifreeze through it. And once you're done your winterization process completely for the unit, taking this little brass plug out, leaving it out for the duration of winter. That way, once that antifreeze starts expanding during those really cold months, it has a place to go and it's not going to expand and crack inside those copper tubes. Get that all back into place. Lock it down. Opening up this door here. So you got that starter pack, which I've kind of already told you about. Comes with a 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, the 15 amp park adapter I told you about, and some other miscellaneous goodies. Up at the front here, you're going to get your battery disconnect switch. So with it in the on position like it is now, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position, the batteries would be disconnected from the unit. In addition to that, it also disables the rest of the 12 volt inside the system. So let's say you plug the unit in, you went to go turn the lights on, nothing turns on. It's probably because you're in the off position, so the batteries are disconnected and the 12 volt system is disabled. So just turn that back to the on position. This little light switch here does turn on some front accent lights in the front of the trailer. They're cool little lights, spice up the campsite a little bit, maybe attract some people. And then you got your electronic leveling system, push the power button, of course, 12 volt system enabled. If you hit auto level, the unit's going to completely automatically level itself. course, you're gonna have to make sure the unit remains still. Following the instructions on the wall, on the panel here, definitely helps. And then if you go between your different options, you have an auto hitch option, which is just gonna lift the front of the unit so that you can hitch up nice and easily. You got an auto retract all, so that's how I would retract the jacks once you're done and you're packing up. To retract all the jacks, you just hit enter, it's gonna automatically retract all of them. Then you got auto retract rear, and then you got a manual level mode as well. All works pretty simple. You can also individually control the jacks just by pushing the buttons. Power button to turn that back off. Then on the wall here, you got your little exterior shower. So you're just pulling back on the collar like any standard airline, push and insert in place. Once that's locked in, hot and cold sprayable water at this hose. It's just your standard garden hose end, so you can put any nozzle in here in case you didn't like this one. Cable satellite inlets. Then you got your little winterization port here, which they also include this nice little hose. So when it comes time to winterization, you're taking that cap off, putting this into its place, and then following the legislative here, you would just turn the valves to the winterize mode. So these two would flip in towards each other. This one would flip to the left. You'd be in winterize mode and you'd be sucking antifreeze out of this hose with the water pump on. Pretty simple. You can't really mess it up. And then you also have the rest of the options here. So dry camping if you're using the water pump. You got the power fill tank. So if you're using the city water to fill up, which you have to on this one. And then you got city water in case you're out of sight with service. You can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. No need to turn on your water pump. Then you have sanitize mode as well in case you're sanitizing your fresh tank. And now once your sewer would be connected, like I showed you earlier, down at the waste, you got all your valves here. So you got two liquid wastes, which is your gray tanks. One's going to be a galley strictly from the kitchen sink, and the other one is going to be from the shower and the sink inside the bathroom. Then you got your body waste, which is going to be your black tank, and that's going to be your dirtiest water. So that is going to be the one you're going to want to empty first, as it just helps to keep the hose as clean as possible, because typically gray is a little bit cleaner than black. You got a couple different light switches inside here as well, on their own center push buttons, as well as a couple 120 plugins, which is really nice. You can manually turn on the water pump from outside here as well. We're going to go over the water pump switch inside though, because that's probably where you're going to use it most. Now inside this compartment, you're going to notice it has the lock because it does have propane inside of it. As a lock, you can't lock it up. Standard 30-pound tank, pretty standard. You got the selector valve on your regulator inside here. I'll turn on my light just so the camera picks it up a little bit better. With it pointed this way, you're drawing off this tank. Point it to the other side. You're going to be drawing off the other tank. So the way that works is you're drawing off this one. If this one were to go dry or empty, turn it off, disconnect it, flip that over to the other side, turn it back on, and you can draw off the other tank while this one's being filled. And then to turn it on, it's just counterclockwise like any standard barbecue. Nice and slow though, just so you're not. And it's on. And close it up. And then coming around the front of the unit, taking a step on underneath, you do have a dock light up front here. And then opening up this compartment, it's an extra storage space. Of course, just being mindful of all the wiring and everything around here. And then inside this box here, I already have the screws removed. It is where your battery's housed. Your solar controller right up at the front. There's not much you need to worry about there. It's already set up for if there's sun outside, it's going to be applying a charge to the battery. Now coming around to the passenger side, you got the second propane tank inside this compartment. Like I said, the controls are all on the other side. And then you have the other side of your storage compartment. Opening it up, you're going to notice this bar on the wall. Now this is to take down your spare tire, so I'll go over that in a second. But other than that, again, just some more storage space. You got your entryway door, which I'll go over in a few minutes. And then that is it for the rest of the unit here. You're going to notice this shaft. This is how you get your spare tire down. You're just having to insert that tool onto there and run this down to the ground. To get inside, taking the assist handle, pushing it up, holding it 90 degrees, it's going to lock into place. It is going to allow you to open up the door. You have your door open all the way to get your stairs down. pulling the latch unlocks them. They're going to start coming towards you. You do have adjustable feet on either side. You're just having to lift up the latch, count the corresponding holes. So you have nice and level. First thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, pretty much just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. You got your entryway light buttons, which turns on the front half of the living space lights. You also have another light switch on the right, which turns on these nice hallway lights so you can see what you're doing. Got your monitor panel system, so pushing the button gives you the corresponding level for the tank. It says you have a black tube, but black one is the only one that's hooked up, and then you got gray 1 and gray 2. Gray 1 is going to be for the gray 2 is going to be for your galley, which is your kitchen sink. And then you got your fresh and your battery, pretty self-explanatory. Water pump, turning that on, draws from your fresh tank. And then you got your awning light, turning that on, turns on that strip light outside. And then you do have exterior lights. Turning this switch on does turn on the docking light at the front there. It also turns on 2 lights on the front bed slide out. I always recommend turning those on at night. That way nobody runs their head into it if they're walking by. And you do have tank heaters installed in this unit. It's for extended camping seasons. Unfortunately, our Manitoba winters get much too cold for this to be adequate. Realistically, if you're going below -0, you are running the risk of things freezing, so just keep that in mind. Slide out switches, pretty self-explanatory. Push and hold the button. Slide out's going to make its way out. Now, before we finish putting the slide out, just a couple notes. I know it's going to be pretty hard to check the slide outs from the inside when they are closed, but a great way to do that is just being visual while you're pulling them out, making sure that there's nothing that got stuck between them during travel. If you start noticing one side's hanging up, maybe stop, take a look, make sure there's nothing in between there, because you don't want to cause any damage, because these motors unfortunately don't know when to stop. It takes quite a bit. So you could damage something before it fuse blows or anything. Start pushing that button, and of course making sure on the outside you have enough room to put the slide out all the way out. And once it's at its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. And that does go the same for all of the rest of the slide outs in the unit. So you heard the clicking, now you're going to do your bedroom slide. And whenever you're riding your slide outs, always trying to run one at a time. And it's always best for them to try and do full strokes, so either go all the way in or all the way out. It's not the end of the world if you can only do a half stroke for whatever reason, but just try to avoid it because it is just easier on the motors. And you heard the clicking, so you know you're at your full extension. Next, you do have your awning control. Now pushing and holding that extend button, the awning's going to start making its way out. Once that awning is at its full extension, which unfortunately we can't get to today just because of space, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you just have to retract it a little bit and pull it back out. Try and get the flap to hang down. Now that is all we're going to be able to go today, unfortunately. But if it were to start raining, you can take anywhere in front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off if it were to start raining. And of course, if you like that angle better because it allows for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure you do push these arms back to straight before you bring that awning in. And whenever you bring the awning in while it's wet, always trying to remember to put it out at your next earliest convenience. That way it can dry out and you're not accelerating the growth of mold and mildew. To retract it, it's just as simple as holding the retract button, making sure the awning's rolling the right way in. And once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor should automatically cut out. Now, all throughout this unit, you're going to have tons of accent lighting, all on their own center push buttons or switches. All these light switches do exactly that, and there's going to be more throughout the unit as we go. On the wall here, you got your thermostat. Now, this is the main thermostat for the unit. It's going to control your furnace as well as your rear air. There's going to be another one that controls your front air inside the bedroom, but we're just going to go over this one because they do both work the same way. Pushing the mode button once you get into your fan setting. Now that's just moving air around using the air conditioner. There's no heating or cooling involved. Pushing the fan button will either take you from low to high fan. One more time, you get into cool. So now this is when the air conditioning takes into effect. You can change your set temperature temperature by pushing up and down. Now you're going to notice it says fan on, and it's on high. Pushing it one more time, we'll go into low. One more time, that's when that auto kicks in. So now it's going to become an on-demand system, so it'll work like your standard house. Whenever it's an auto, let's say the room's set to 60. If it's at 65, once the room hits 60, it'll automatically cut out that air conditioner. If you have it on a high or low fan without the auto, the fan does run regardless of the room temperature, so just keep that in mind. One more time, we'll kill the air conditioner. Actually, it won't kill the air conditioner, but it's going to reverse the action of the air conditioner. So you're going to go into heat pump mode. Now that all that essentially does is when you're using your air conditioner, if it's on AC mode, it's blowing out the hot air and blowing in the cold air. Heat pump absolutely reverses that. It's going to blow in the hot air and blow out the cold air. It's a really cool option, and it'll save you on propane too if it's not that cold out. Now, in addition to the heat pump, you do have the furnace, which you can run the same time as the heat pump. The furnace only has one fan speed, and it's going to move all its air through the floor ducting you have throughout the unit. And whenever you turn the furnace off, it's going to run for an additional 3 minutes after you turn it off. And because it's the furnace, it does run off propane. Now, propane's heavier than air, so it does sit near the ground. And when you burn propane, it takes oxygen out of the air. We got our LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane out of whichever bottle you're using. Open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here, and then you can continue on. And just keeping in mind an extra note, it is very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you're ever cleaning around it, use your best judgment, but it could be that. Back to the thermostat. Whenever you're running your heat pump in your furnace, you may have to change your fan setting from auto to either on. You have to, if you're using the heat pump and the furnace at the same time, you have to have the fan on either high or low full time. You can't use the auto mode for whatever reason. One more time, we'll take you over to furnace if you just want to run that furnace, and then one more time after that, we'll take you right back over to off. Kills everything. And that front air conditioner is only going to control that air conditioner and the heat pump. It won't control the furnace. Now, taking a step into the main living space. Blinds. All blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Again, accent lighting throughout the whole unit. And you're going to notice throughout this unit as well, you have tons of travel straps. The travel straps are there for a reason. Whenever you're traveling, always making sure you have them latched to try and reduce any sort of damage that would happen, because if the travel straps are off, chances are that object does move freely. So you undo the fridge like so, and the doors don't latch very good. So, you know, whenever you're traveling, just making sure you do have these travel straps on, just avoiding any damage. Your chairs in your dinette have them. The chairs underneath your island have them, so the doors are going to have them. So just be mindful, get familiar with all of them at your first trip. Just making sure you use them all whenever you can. This is going to be a fire exit side here. Just having to lift that up, slide the window over, and then it'll allow you to slide the screen over, and you can hop on out of the unit. It is quite the hop down though, so just need to be careful. But of course, if there's a fire, just try and get out as quick as you can. Dinette, pretty self-explanatory. You got two recliner chairs. The recliner piece is in between the cushions on either side of them there. In the center, this flips open, you get a little storage space. Again, more accent lighting. This does turn out into a bed. It's like any standard pull-out couch. Take the cushions off, pick up at the foot. The whole thing's gonna fold out. You fold two legs down, and then you can fold the back cushion down, and you'd have yourself another bed in case you had any unexpected guests. Accent lighting again all at the back here, and also this one switch does do the back set of lights. All the storage in this unit, just being mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring whenever you're using it. There is tons in here, but again, just be careful of those things because you don't want to be messing with any of that. Now your TV, it's mounted on the wall here. Pulling it back. Just, you got your cable satellite outlets here. There's a little black button there. I'll turn on my light so you can see it a little bit better on camera. Turning that black button on turns the green light on, which turns power to the antenna on the roof. Now it also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so I always recommend using it whenever you're camping. But if you're leaving the unit, turning it off because it does draw battery power. Then you can move your TV back into place. And whenever you're traveling, making sure that your TV is clicked and locked into place, so that way it doesn't go anywhere whenever you're moving. More accent lighting in here. Then down below you got your JBL sound system. It's an awesome sound system. Power button on the right. Pretty standard, just like home. The only difference is you're going to have your different...
A magician conjuring fun for all ages with his interactive magic show in motion. Tickets at pdcrailway.com.
To change your speakers, you're going to push that little speaker option. You're going to see it Zone B. Zone B is going to be your outside speakers. You can change them to on just by using the skip button. You're going to see now it goes to on. To get it back to off, hit the speaker button, go over to off. If you want to turn the sound bar off, you just have to hit the speaker button again. Pretty simple. Power button, turn it back off. You got your fireplace. Power button on the far right. The button to the left changes your different flame colors. The button in the middle does your different rock light colors. And then 2 in from the far left, you got your heat option. You got low and high. And then of course you got a timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. So it'll automatically cut out after that. Power button again on the far right to turn it off. You got an awesome little pantry space. You're gonna notice all these drawers. Again, having travel latches, making sure those are all latched before you leave. In the unit, you do have some motion sensing lights. They do all work the same way. If you turn it over to the 1, that's gonna be on full time. 0 in the middle's off, obviously. And then the 2 option, that is the motion sensing option. So the light will only turn on once it senses motion and turn off after so many minutes. Close that up. Just noticing up top, the travel latch, probably there for a reason. So just making sure that's latched in so it can't open up on you while you're driving. And now you get into your kitchen space, sink, hot and cold water, movable head, pretty sweet. You got your convection oven, which does also have the built-in range hood, high and low fan, and it has a built-in light as well, which I thought was pretty nice. Other than that, just like home, not much I'm going to show you. Right down below, we've already made the note of liquid propane, the detector. Now, just a couple notes with the propane system. Whenever you turn the system off, or especially if you disconnect the bottle because you had to get one filled up, it does allow air into the system. Once air makes its way into the system, it does have to be purged out. Now, the easiest, simplest, quickest way to do it is whenever you get to your campsite, if you've had the propane system off or had to switch out the bottle, and you go to turn it back on, there's air in that system, it has to be purged out. Doing it with the stove, the reason I tell you to do it with the stove is if you go to fire up your water heater, your furnace or something like that, those only try lighting themselves a couple times before they're going to throw a fault code at you. And if you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw a little wrench or maybe some frustration into your weekend, and we try to want to make that to the least amount possible because we want you to enjoy your time out there. Fire up your stove first thing. I already had the stove running, so it's going to fire up pretty quick. Sometimes it can take a few minutes for propane to come out. Whenever you're doing this, you do have to turn this on, which turns on some illumination lights, and the oven light, which I thought was pretty nice. Turn that on, supplies power to the igniters. Now the igniters should run full time whenever you have this pushed in, and that's how you light it. You push it in, turn it over to high, you're going to see it goes out. Whenever you have the gas running, always making sure the igniter is going, that way you don't have a buildup of gas and a minor combustion. You could lose some eyebrows or eyelashes, and again, we don't want that. So whenever you're running the gas valve, just making sure that you do hear the sparker going, because if you didn't, and then all of a sudden it went for some reason, again, minor combustion. So you're just turning them over, you heard the igniter kick in, it might not light the first few times. Like I said, you just have to be patient with it and give it some time. And everything lights up like it should. And then down below for the oven, it's kind of the same thing. Push it and turn it over to the pilot option. Now the oven can take even longer just because the gas orifice is so small for the pilot. Once the pilot's lit and can hold its own without it being pushed in, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. And then you got your fridge and freezer combo. It's a super sweet fridge. You can open up each side. You're gonna see it's nice and cold. Pretty standard. Controls are at the front here. If you want to do any of it, you have to unlock it first, and it locks automatically after a minute or whatever of not being used. Push and hold the lock for about 3 seconds, it disappears, and then you can change your different functions. You're going to see the temperatures change, and you, with just pushing the button, you can go between all your different temperatures. Pretty simple. Again, the fridge, having those travel straps, making sure they are done up. That way that doesn't open up on you and cause you any damage, because it is a beautiful camper. Paper towel holder over here. You got some hangers for some cups or whatever else. Storage all throughout. Now we can take a step up on upstairs, get inside the bathroom. Getting inside the bathroom, your light switch is on your right. And in the bathroom, you do have, again, a motion sensing light. You got on the wall the thermostat, your hot water heater, on and off with the press of the on and off button. It's a touch screen. If you turn the tap on, it's going to take a second, and then you'll see the flame thing light up, and then it'll get up to your desired temperature. You set the temperature to whatever you would like. Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. Other than that, your standard bathroom. You're going to notice these are glass. So again, they have that travel strap. Always making sure you have these latched in, especially because if they're swinging around, they're probably going to break. Got your main GFI plug on the wall. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. Just making sure that red light's on. So you got reset on the right, test on the left. Now, one quick thing I did forget to go over is your main fuse and breaker panel over here. Flipping that guy down. Whenever you have a breaker trip, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And all your corresponding fuses are right there, and there should be a red indicator light whenever one pops, letting you know which one is popped. Now, last but not least, we are taking a step on into the bedroom. Light switch on the left. Thermostat for this air conditioner works the same way as the rear one. Hooks on the wall for any jackets or anything. You got a TV back here, so if you want to mount a TV, this is where you could be doing so. I personally would mount it on my dresser, but that's just me. You got your emergency exit for the bedroom. Just lifting that handle, pushing it out, pulling the red tab, screen's gonna pop right out of place. You can hop on out, but just keeping in mind you are pretty high up, so just again, braking your fall as you go down. Storage space all around. Now, one of my favorite parts is the big front closet. You're gonna notice again, these closets, they have travel straps, latches. So unclipping it now. Nice light switch on your right, illuminates the whole closet. Tons of storage space. You are pre-plumbed and wired for a washer dryer combo. If you'd like to get set up with those, just contact your parts department and they can put together a quote for you. But you are pre-plumbed and pre-wired for it. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.